The day began like any other execution, grim, routine, a task that required detachment and discipline. I had overseen dozens of crucifixions, enough that the horror no longer troubled me. The men hung on crosses were criminals, rebels, and enemies of Rome. They deserved their fate, or so I had always believed. But this man, Jesus, was different. From the moment we led him out to Golgotha, something felt heavier, though I couldn't explain why. He carried himself not with anger or resistance, but with a quiet strength that unsettled me. The crowds jeered and spat, yet he did not curse them back. He stumbled under the weight of the cross, his body beaten and broken. But the way he looked at those who mocked him, it wasn't hatred, it wasn't despair. It was compassion. I tried to shake the feeling, focusing instead on my duty. We nailed him to the cross as he whispered prayers, and as the hours dragged on, he spoke words I had never heard before from the condemned. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Forgive them." Who asks for forgiveness for the men driving nails into his flesh? It made no sense. The sky darkened unnaturally. It wasn't like a storm, but a thick, oppressive shadow that fell over the land, and an unease settled in my gut. I had lived through enough campaigns to trust my instincts, and they were screaming at me that something beyond human understanding was happening here. The crowd grew quieter, murmuring in fear as the blackness deepened. Even my fellow soldiers exchanged nervous glances, though none dared to speak aloud what we were all thinking. Then he cried out, his voice piercing the silence, my God, why have you forsaken me?" I had heard men scream in agony on the cross before, but his cry was different. It wasn't just pain, it was a depth of sorrow that shook me to my core. And when he finally breathed his last, the earth itself seemed to groan. The ground beneath us trembled violently, shaking the stones and splitting the temple veil. People screamed and fled, but I was rooted to the spot, staring at the lifeless body hanging on the cross. It was then that I knew this man was not just another criminal, not just another rebel crushed under Roman might. This man was innocent. More than that, he was divine. "Surely this was the Son of God," I whispered, my voice trembling with the weight of the realization. The words felt foreign in my mouth, but they came with a certainty I couldn't deny. In the days that followed, I couldn't forget what I had witnessed. The memory of his face, his words, his death stayed with me, reshaping everything I thought I knew about power, justice, and mercy. I had always believed in Rome's strength, its authority, its gods. But now all of it seemed small, hollow, in the shadow of the man on the cross. Jesus had spoken of forgiveness, even as he suffered. He had surrendered his life willingly, not in defeat, but in love. I left my post soon after, unable to continue the work I had once done without question. I sought out his followers, desperate to understand what I had witnessed, to find meaning in the chaos his death had stirred within me. They told me of his teachings, his miracles, and his resurrection, a claim so astonishing it should have been absurd. But I believed them. I had seen enough to know that nothing about him could be confined to human logic. My life changed that day. The execution I oversaw in duty became the moment that broke me and rebuilt me in faith. I still wrestle with guilt, with the role I played in his death. But I cling to the hope his followers share, the hope that forgiveness is possible even for someone like me. And though I am just one Roman centurion, I now serve a greater kingdom, his,